Since the rise of former Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez and current dictator Nicolas Maduro, Venezuelans have decided to escape from their country, turning eventually into the second largest migrant crisis in the world after the Syrian. Currently, to this day, Colombia is the country with more Venezuelans in the world, with nearly 2 million of Venezuelan refugees living in different cities of these South American nations, which is also Venezuela's neighboring country. We need to remember that Venezuela and Colombia share 3 borders. The borders of Apure with Arauca, the border of Táchira with Cúcuta, and the border of Zulia and Maicao. Many of these Venezuelans that decided to escape from their country and come here to Colombia live in pretty harsh conditions, considering the widespread crisis in their home country and the fact that many of these Venezuelans live into the most horrible poverty of Latin America, the extremist poverty, to the point that many of these people literally went to Colombia walking with their feet, literally walking instead of grabbing a bus, of grabbing a car, or of course grabbing an airplane or even a ship. They went to Colombia walking because of the poverty, because of the unspeakable situation that they have been experiencing in their home country, in Venezuela. So things turn even more complicated because the economic problems that Colombia currently has. And given this situation, most Venezuelans currently work in the informal sector here in Colombia. This way, a pretty horrible reality that has arisen as a consequence of this situation has been that many Venezuelan women have been forced to get into prostitution in this country in order to survive. However, what's even worse is that many criminal bands in Colombia are taking advantage of this situation and turning some of these sex workers into sex slaves. They even fly some of these Venezuelan women, they even fly some of them along with other Colombian women to different European nations. I was recently talking with a Venezuelan sex worker who refused to go in camera, who refused to go on record, essentially, to provide her name, to appear on camera, or even to let us to hear her voice. He essentially told me that this is a situation that is fully out of control, and this thing about these criminal bands that fly these Venezuelan and Colombian sex workers from Colombia to different European nations, she explained that these nations are essentially Sweden, Spain, and Romania. These are the nations where these criminal bands take these Colombian and Venezuelan prostitutes here from Colombia to these nations where they essentially live like slaves, basically. So what's even worse is that this particular topic remains some kind of taboo here in Colombia. This situation represents a pretty delicate topic, to the point where there is not a single office or institution here in Colombia that have quantified the cases and eventually provided some numbers of this situation, some numbers about the amount of people that live, the amount of women who are sex workers, and of course the number of Venezuelan refugees that also got into prostitution. There is no number about this situation. So this is some kind of loud secret here in Colombia. This is something that many people know, but not many people like to talk about because it remains some kind of taboo in this country. So given this situation, the worst aspect is that authorities here in Colombia haven't been able to solve this situation, haven't been able to solve this problem. because Colombia always had a lot of problems with, this situation about prostitution and the way that these women are not only stigmatized but also exploited by different criminal bands that take advantage of their vulnerable situation to make them sex slaves. So this is also happening with Venezuelan refugee women that go into prostitution, that decide to become sex workers, and are in a even more vulnerable situation that Colombian women, given the fact that the Venezuelan woman doesn't have the proper documentation, and of course they are poorer than many Colombian women that are sex workers. As a matter of fact, different people have been claiming that, in fact, the Venezuelan sex worker that I talked recently, she confirmed this rumor that have been spreading here in Colombia, that there is some kind of problem into prostitution currently because there are more competition from the Colombian woman, given the fact that the Venezuelan women are also, many Venezuelan women are also getting into prostitution here in Colombia. So there is some kind of clash, and this situation is also capitalized by these criminal bands. So this is just another example of how the Venezuelan crisis turned a once rich nation, the richest nations in Latin America, into the poorer nation, and in a country where people need to escape in order to survive. Reporting from Medellín, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.